You gonna say hi? Everybody can see you. Hi.
Well, you have to introduce. No.
This is JMC Live. We are, if you notice, changing things up a bit. There's going to be a lot more changes coming to future programming. And yes, for those of you that heard me right, we will be taking phone calls at the second half of the hour. First of all, I wanted to cover with you guys, because I realize a lot of people are curious, how can I participate actively, meaning while we're currently on air for JMC Live? Randy, you want to explain that a little bit? At least one piece of it?
One piece is you can interact with us in the chat room, which is to your right.
That should say the word Livestream on it.
And or you can click on the Facebook link next to the chat, and you can chat in Facebook. And it'll go to your Facebook page, and
yeah, it lets you check in and chat. It's really cool because you can log into your Facebook account while you're searching, and you can listen to us. If you have a question, I'm actually logging in as we're talking right now, and it's going to post. I'm going to write, "Come join us." Come join us live via Facebook for JMC Live. This is something
you can either post to your wall or you can skip it.
Yep.
And only post to the Facebook chat.
And I'm able to monitor, for those who are curious, because I'm going to screen it. Screen check. Check this out. Screen check. Once this comes up, here's what we're looking at. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's what it is. When you log in, we have an option. This first one, it's live stream. When I click live stream, it comes over to this live stream. It loads. You can see the live stream player. You go to your Facebook, it's going to make me have to log in again, because each time I change it, it makes you reevaluate the system and whatnot.
Or you can click also the Twitter.
And then you can also go to Twitter. And here's the thing with Twitter. For all Twitter posts to show up, you have to do hashtag, which is that tic-tac-toe, you know, the two lines, and it makes the box, whatever. It's on your phone. And then write capital JMC, capital L for the word live, JMC Live. Any of those tweets that say we're not on air anymore, and you have a question from a former show that you're just dying to know an answer about, and you want to know what we're saying, you check out hashtag JMC Live, and I'm highlighting it right here. We posted this 48 minutes ago. We can respond to that. So we are monitoring Facebook, Twitter, and live stream feeds. The chat is always open. You'll always be able to say something on here. And I said at the end of the half hour, we will be taking your calls this evening. And I'll be posting a number shortly.
So let's get going.
Oh, where are we going? We're going to go do some Bible prophecy. You know how I like Bible prophecy? Because I've always said before, on various programs, people thought I was a nut job or a whack job or some kind of job. Probably a derogatory word job. Screwball, what's some other words I've been called?
Can't say them.
Can't say them. Words that require you to drink lots of water to make you feel clean. There we go. But anyway, I like talking about Bible prophecy because it's something that is very important in the body of Christ for us to understand the different viewings and culturalistic things that are happening in our world today. I have people that argue with me from the barcode system when Hitler implemented the barcode system via IBM. This is just a history thing. The Hollister system, I think that's what it's called. It's called the Hollister system. I'll have to look it up so I can do a whole show. I know a lot of people want me to do just a whole show, and 30-minute, an hour show maybe on Bible prophecy alone. We might do that in the future. I'm coming up with some planned ideas of show and program activities I want to be able to expressively share with you guys shortly. So here's one of the things I want to try to do. To give you guys this background of biblical prophecy and where we're heading today and what we're going to next. From the barcoding system that we have, the latest thing that's happened is RF. RF is radio frequency, and a radio frequency ID has occurred. Most recently, and I talked about this the other day, and I'm going to type it in. I have it bookmarked. There has been massive amounts of updates about the RFID system and what that means in today's society, particularly the conferences that were coming. Just to give you a snippet, the RFID Journal just had a conference, and in their 10th year anniversary, the RFID coming of age, I'm probably going to go request a free copy for this. RFID is going all over the place. If you're looking at this little image over here, they're talking about multiple things. They're talking about RFID chips, and if you're seeing that right,
medical sterilization.
Yeah, if you're seeing this right, Fujitsu is sponsoring a FRAM RFID medical sterilization process via special microchip, nanochips. For those of you who are interested, I have to tell you, we're going to share this story right here that we have on the Eternal Flame News. That's another update I wanted to share with you guys. Check this out. We have updated the Eternal Flame News blog, and I'm going to share with you guys later. We have updated our website blog page. I'm making certain everything's working, getting the bugs out, but everything's going to go on the website. Everything's going to be great. So without further ado, I'm going to try and get this clip to play. I'm hoping that it all goes smoothly and we won't have any problems with the audio playing. But as you know, video sometimes has its own way of thinking. And here we go. Here is, and I'll give you a little background. This is going to be Lifeline talking about scientists working on a device to travel through the bloodstream. And I don't know if it's going to play or not. Let me see. Got one more thing to try.
Play.
Try. There we go.
And Jeremy doesn't have the volume up. Hit pause.
Alright, the volume is not working. I'll get this to work one way or another. I'm not giving up. Woohoo! Love
Okay.
live TV. Now it doesn't want to play. Here we go.
And it went to a commercial.
Yeah, so we got a commercial. Let me get this commercial out of the way. When the commercial stops, and this is
You
what
better hurry up and get ready to go back up.
Alright. I'm probably going to turn the audio up for you.
To fix a life-threatening condition. Sounds like science fiction, right? Dr. Kim Mulvihill explains how we're getting closer to the real thing.
The most incredible adventure that man could ever achieve.
The 1966 movie Fantastic Voyage,
I've seen that movie.
full of scientists, is shrunken to microscopic size and injected into the bloodstream of a seriously wounded diplomat. 46 years later, the idea sounds less far-fetched.
If we did a three-dimensional antenna,
In this lab at Stanford, engineers are perfecting their fantastic voyage.
And then we can make it smaller.
Professor Ada Poon says smaller is the name of the game.
We have been in this project for more than 4 years. So we encounter a lot of obstacles on the way, and then we solve them one by one.
Instead of a battery, which takes up lots of space, this device is powered wirelessly with electromagnetic radio waves.
The prototype we built is 3 millimeters by 4 millimeters. You can see here that we have a 2 millimeter by 2 millimeter receive antenna.
The result? A new class of medical devices that are so small they can travel through the bloodstream.
Right now, we could go to the arteries. The size could go through the arteries, but we want to even go through some smaller bloodstreams.
Tiny devices may one day change how we perform diagnostic tests, deliver medications, even do surgical procedures.
We are pretty excited about it, but this is only the first step. We still have a long way to go in order to realize this fantastic voyage.
Interesting stuff. Well, it's not yet ready for testing. They hope to shrink it even further so that it could fit into a needle and be injected into a blood vessel. And they want to...
So, I'm not going to go any further on that. You guys are getting the point of what I'm talking about. There was also a movie with, what was his name? Dennis Quaid. He was in something Stream or whatever. It was a comedy in like the 80s. I'm all in these weird movies.
Yes,
Miranda
you are.
doesn't know. I have a whole stack of old black and white films that are weird science stuff.
Morons from Outer Space.
Yeah, I watched
remember that
Morons
one.
from Outer Space. But here's the weird thing. I watched all these old films in the 70s, 60s, whatever, 40s. And their stories, and then even some of the older books. Most of this old science fiction is becoming reality.
Well, what it comes down to is what we show on the video is that they want to take basically an implantable microchip that's small enough to go through your bloodstream, to implant it into your bloodstream.
Yep.
That's creepy.
So one of the things that I have, for those of you who are interested to know, I am kind of a video game guy. I haven't been focusing on it that much because of school and ministry. But in one of the video games I played, I remember a story about, it was like the superhero, the main character of the video game. He had to take an injection of a nanobite, and nanobite meaning what we just talked about in this video. This was in a video game 5 years ago. They were injecting this military guy with this syringe of stuff, and what happened, of course we're not to that point. Well, what happened is he like got all bulked up, and then his body ended up having a sheath of armor over it. For those that are interested, there's an anime called The Guyver out there that did something like that, and a couple of other things that I'm aware of. But anyway, all this fictitious stuff from animes and video games and science fiction books and whatnot, it's all been a form of stepping stones that the devil has used and that God has used at the same time, because God doesn't allow the devil to do anything that God won't allow happen. Meaning, for Christians who are serious about their faith, you must understand historically what the Bible tells us is not only relevant today and culturally significant to what we're doing in our past, present, and future. This is something that will be life-changing experiences to go on. Because yes, I'm not going to argue the fact this nanobite technology through injection is supposed to help cure cancer and so on and so forth. There's supposed to be all these wonderful and great astounding things. When you look in the book of Daniel, it says, my wisdom will be hidden for the ages until the end of days, where knowledge will increase by tenfold beyond anything you can imagine. If you don't think the last 10 years of history, the last 12 years of history, and how much technology has grown, how much people are capable of doing things now, and moving in a massive direction beyond anything you can fathom, and I don't know what you're thinking about, because it's coming to a point where, this technology is going to be used in socialistic, communistic countries. What will happen? Here's the way it's going to happen for the end of days. It'll be used for animals. Well, we're already using it on animals.
We are.
Well, it's going to be used on babies. Well, we're already using it on babies. What for tracking? What will happen is they're going to want to use it on, say, the criminal system. Mm-hmm. They'll want to use a tracking device. And one of the movies that I watched,
or you know what? Also, sex offenders.
Sex offenders. That's another thing.
To track them after they get out of prison.
And you know what? We're already doing that, because when I was at the homeless shelter, and when I was at other places, nanobots. That's one of the things. It's also in Star Trek.
Here we go.
I actually wrote a sermon about the Borg in Star Trek being communist and socialistic in nature, and also about how Satan wants to try and make everyone to follow his own goings, and if you go against him, then he's going to destroy you. Kind of cool that you talked about that, April.
I married a nerd.
Yeah, people don't realize I'm a nerd.
My nerd.
People don't realize I'm a nerd. It's because I don't normally talk about this. I don't get the opportunity.
I knew nothing.
Welcome. We got a wonderful friend in a Facebook chat. I see that. You want to say something? Go on. I'm going to log in and check in and chat for there again.
So I didn't know anything about Star Wars or Star Trek. I respected it. I respected it. I didn't understand it, but I was educated when I married Jeremy, for sure. So.
Oh yeah. So we got one extra person in the Facebook chat. You can probably turn on your internet. I got good streaming. You should be able to be fine, and you can get in the chat too.
All right,
Amanda.
let's get back to.
But anyway, back to the story and everything. And there's April in the chat. LT. I mean, a lot of people like this stuff, and I know there's arguments over how satanic Star Trek and all this stuff is. Yes, there are satanic, paganistic things in Star Trek and science fiction and fantasy and all that stuff, but the other side of it is, for those of you who have children, have friends that have been involved in all these different kinds of things, you got to see how the devil wants to use these things, and you also have to see how can Christians use some of these things. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that that countries, and we already know this, so we talked about China and other several countries that are using these technologies to control their people, but better yet, yes, I understand. This is not the final formatic technology that
They
will
want
be
to go
used.
farther.
You know, that's the creepy part. I mean, it used to be that you were going to take a branding iron. This is what my grandmother was afraid of. This was the story when she was like 5 years old that her parents passed down to her in churches, in small rural churches in northeast Texas, you know, Wichita Falls area. Here's what happens. They were afraid that they were going to just brand people. Then we got the 40s going on. We have the barcoding system. It's been found out certain barcodes have the number 666 and a certain consecutive all kind of barcoding system. You can log into eFlame News if you want to for that one. So we're gonna have 2 Facebook accounts, 2 Twitter accounts on the hashtag, so then people online on Twitter can write us. And like I said, all these ways to communicate with us, the chat, the Twitter, the Facebook, the live stream, this is on 24 hours a day. You see a program on jmclive.com, you want to ask us a question, write it. We'll get back to you. We will respond. You know, we'll do our best to do what we can. But for this whole technology and everything that's happening, I realized that people must wake up. People must understand and educate yourselves about biblical prophecy being completely relevant today. And that's part of the issue. Too many people have split themselves between they believe in biblical prophecy, and then there's another group of people I've talked to who says, well, that's not the finalized version. They're not using that to hurt anyone, Jeremy. That's being used for medical technology. And I said, if you put anything in the wrong hands and you're not aware of it, that's the problem. And there's coming a line when someone's going to become a senator, a House of Representatives. One of you listening to this program is a doctor. Another one of you is a lawyer. It's going to be the doctors and lawyers and scientists and everyone coming together to make a decision to either legislatively pass a law, or you're going to end up making a technology and trying to get a grant to proceed further. Do you realize those that have followed the Nazi stories of their wonderful travels around the world? Yeah, I use the word wonderful because the one thing that they did that was the most crazy thing, they wanted to do a bunch of excavation. They wanted to go all over the world and find the best scientists and the best doctors and all this stuff because they were trying to take over the world. That's the creepy part about it. That's what's going to happen again. History will repeat itself, and some group of people are going to become a think technology on how they can dominate and can control the whole globe. I mean, we have an international monetary fund. We have all these other different technologies and things that we're trying to do. That is one of the biggest issues that we're facing in our world today. Another thing that we're talking about, and I don't know if I'm going to play the video or not.
No, you don't need to play the video. Did you read up on this at all?
Yeah, I've read up on some of this. This is a book, right? This is a book.
You didn't read up on it.
I didn't read up on all of it. This is crazy. A Bible that stops a bullet. Now, I heard, before I read this story, I did hear there was a shooting at a church not too long ago where one person was semi-wounded because they had their Bible and it went through the Bible, but the person still got hurt. But if they didn't have the Bible, they would have been even furtherly hurt. Well, this is Columbia, South Carolina. I believe that's South Carolina.
Yes. Well, let me explain why I chose this article for tonight. A book has come out called Through Fiery Trails, and basically what it is, it's documenting stories about how soldiers in the Civil War on both sides, the Union and the Confederacy, had some encounters being miraculously saved, and how it affected their faith. I'm going to go ahead and read some of it. The article begins with, when man goes through fiery trails, he turns to faith. The Bible General Robert E. Lee carried in 1864, a crucifix carried by General George Pickett, known for his charge at Gettysburg, and a letter from Confederate President Jefferson Davis to the Pope are among the artifacts on display in Through Fiery Trails, Religion in the Civil War, at the Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum. The more we read first-hand accounts, the more we learn how important religion was in sustaining people and reconciling... I can't read anymore, Jeremy.
All right, she needs to read some more. Let me scroll down for her. Where you at?
and reconciling them afterwards, said museum curator of, I can't read because it's
Just
covered
let
up
me know
again,
when you-
education, Joe Long.
It's a long article. I gotta get
Visitors
scrolling.
will find, just like the soldiers who served in the war, it's kind of like a book. They've got, but it's also it's a exhibit to walk through this museum in South Carolina. Visitors will find, just like the soldiers who served in the war, they are connected by their religious beliefs no matter where they were born. Visitors are likely to see things quite familiar from their own religious background or experiences. And when you read about what people went through and how they reacted to it, I think they'll find they have a lot in common, said Long. The artifacts are not limited to South Carolina or the Confederacy. The photo used for publicity is of a Catholic priest giving a sermon to the 69th New York, the famous Irish Brigade. The Word of God went beyond race as well. Louis Napoleon Nelson was a slave who was called on to preach to a Confederate unit. Think about that. That's amazing. One day when the circuit rider didn't show up, he preached a sermon to the 7th Tennessee Cavalry under Bedford Forest, said Long. The men liked it so much they elected this slave as their chaplain.
Slave is a chaplain, folks.
The Confederate soldiers that were for slavery elected a slave as their chaplain because his faith and his love of God and to share the gospel infected these men. On display are the vestments of Charleston Catholic Bishop Patrick Lynch, who was the Confederacy envoy to the Vatican. The Vatican was the only European power that came close to recognizing the Confederacy as a legitimate nation, said Long. It was said that General Robert E. Lee, who was an Episcopal, kept a photograph of Pope Pius the, what is IX? Is that 9?
Yeah.
The 9th? I'm not very good at Roman numerals. Saying he is the Confederacy's only friend in Europe. Civil War diarist Mary Chestnut of Camden also carried a photo of the Pope. The exhibit also includes the first English translation of the Hebrew Bible. The Museum of the Confederacy in Richmond, Virginia, loaned General Lee's devotional Bible to the exhibit. What's interesting to me, says Long, is he has some pages marked in the book of Job. Quoting, I can't imagine what made more sense in 1864 than the book of Job. General Stonewall Jackson's Bible is on loan from the Virginia Historical Society. I can't read anymore, Jeremy.
I think that's the end of the article.
No, it's not. I can't read. No, I lost my place. Okay. But the Bible, that Bible, General Stonewall Jackson's Bible, had the most impact on the man carrying it. It is the one belonging to, okay, let me go back. So General Stonewall Jackson's Bible is on loan from Virginia Historical Society, but the Bible that had the most impact, it belonged to Walter Counts of the 13th South Carolina Infantry. It has a bullet embedded in it. The only question, this poor Lutheran fellow from Lexington, South Carolina, was killed, and we don't know if that Bible saved his life on one occasion or merely stopped one bullet from the volley that killed him. Yet Long considers Lee's Bible worth the trip, and he has a story to prove it. There was a man who was here from Texas with a couple of his boys, and they were touring sites where one of their ancestors had fought in the cavalry in South Carolina, Long says. This man overheard me saying that was General Lee's Bible, and he walked up to it and, very unaffected, very natural gesture to him, took off his hat for a minute and stood there in front of it, and that's a picture I think will stay with me. Through Fiery Trails, if anybody's interested in seeing this exhibit, Through Fiery Trails is open through May 12th, 2012. When the loaned artifacts must be returned. The Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum is at 301 Gervais, Gervais Street in Columbia.
Oh yeah. A Bible.
I think it's very interesting. I mean, it shows the history not only of our country, but also the history of faith in our country.
So a Bible that made it through war, as I'm calling it, and then a slave being a chaplain. You don't hear that much very much.
To the people that were trying to enslave him.
You don't see a bunch of that. Now, a lot of people are curious. We have done many interviews recently. We just did the sexual assault.
It wasn't an interview.
Walking Mall in her shoes. We did an interview with Richie, and he pointed out of the upcoming in front of the City Hall steps, the Walking Mall in her shoes event, and that's a national event on sexual assault awareness. Most people only think about sexual assault being for women, but you're listening and watching a program where I myself and my wife have both been sexual assault victims. It's very rare hearing a man talking about being sexually assaulted. I've been assaulted by men and women. That's something that, you just don't hear happening, but it does. So this was something that struck us both, and I had to go down and experience for myself. I recorded it on the courthouse steps. It's quite windy that day. It just finished raining. I almost was not able to even film the event, but I got that posted on our YouTube page, the SOSA Walkabout in Her Shoes Sexual Assault Awareness event. And then, most recently, as of this week, I did talk about last night, we had an interview canceled, so it's given us a lot of time. We spent about almost 5 hours with Brandy Wilcox. Who is Brandy Wilcox? You'll find out in the video and for the podcast, for those of you who've already listened to the podcast. She's been on several mission trips already. This is her official blog for the world race. She's going to 11 countries in 11 months. And she's been homeless like me. This is the part where I wanted to try and catch you off guard. The reason why you need to hear this story is because of the similarities Brandy and I have gone through. We've both been homeless. We've both been homeless missionaries, meaning we didn't get along with certain people in our families, and things happened. You'll learn at the end of the interview, almost the end of the hour and a few minute interview, her personal testimony. We started out with talking about her ministry trips and where she's going and what the world race is going to be. But very similar to my story, and still even today, I'm like, where am I going to be? Like, yeah. I'm theoretically done with college right now. I don't have to go anymore. I have an associate degree in June. I will get it in the mail in September, if not sooner. But by the grace of God, I'm going one more year. And I could be done as soon as May 2013 or as soon as August 2013 with a whole bachelor degree. Where do I go next? It's the same question she's asking when she gets done with the world race. So
she's a very inspiring young woman. She's
about
23, and she's right here from Ohio. She originally from Washington Courthouse, which is about 35-40 minutes away from us. I worked in Washington Courthouse for many years, different jobs, and it is just a lovely community. And just like her, she's a lovely person. And she
Brandon
just really
she's
has
the female version of me, right?
Yes, in a lot of ways she is. She just has a heart for missions. She has a heart to just share the love of Christ unconditionally, without prejudice towards anybody. She just wants to love on people. And
you'll find out in her testimony as why. Why does this woman want to love on people so much? Why do I want to love on people so much? This is a question so many people don't know. And I'm currently writing an essay, the Who Am I and Why Am I Here essay, cultural essay for the Comms Communication Studies 110 course. And I'm actually, theoretically, I guess you would call it preaching without using Bible verses, but using my own personal testimony.
Yeah.
But the deal is, she's doing the same thing with these trips and trying to do stuff. You'll find out how you can order bracelets. We have some bracelets that will be given away. Where are those bracelets, Miranda? You want to give me some bracelets real quick? We got bracelets we're going to be giving away. We have how many?
We have We have 5.
We got 5 bracelets, and that's another thing.
Am I going to be able to tell them about the bracelets?
Talk about the bracelets.
Okay, we're going to talk about the bracelets. Let me talk about them. These bracelets, they're made out of just many different types of thread, and they came from the Philippines. And the women that make these, they make them. This is really their only way to support themselves and to keep them out of prostitution, because a lot of times that is sometimes the only option women have in the Philippines, sadly, and they get caught up in sex trafficking, slavery, and prostitution, and they don't know how to get out. And through these bracelets called Threads of Hope, they make a way for themselves and their children and their families. We have yellow and gray, we have orange and green, we have red, white, and blue, we have pink, yellow, and dark blue, we have purple and yellow and black. So if anybody's interested in having one of these, they're free. We bought them as a way to support Brandy on her mission trip, and so we are giving these away for free. If anybody watching, we have 5 to give away. So if anybody watching wants one of these, email us right now at officialjmcministries@gmail.com, and we will, and just entitle Threads of Hope bracelet, and send us your email. We'll have your email. Send us your address and your phone number, and we will get one of these bracelets out to you. And like I said, we only have 5, but 5 people can get a bracelet. So if you're interested. Okay. So are you done?
I'm typing away, getting it all in there. Yeah, so 5 people can get a bracelet today. That's another thing. Another thing we're going to be doing eventually. I'm trying to get the second book from Professor Ray. We will be giving, I don't know how many yet, but for those of you who have watched Professor Ray's interview, we will be giving away copies of his book, probably starting sometime next week or the week after. We just have to get everything squared away. He's trying to order copies of one of the book. He's sold a lot, so that's pretty much where we're at when it comes to trying to get the other book. How much do the bracelets cost? Well, these are free bracelets. We got 5 bracelets we're giving away free. People want to get bracelets directly from Brandy. Well, she's got different prices for her bracelets on her website. I'm trying to find the actual link. I know it's in our upcoming video that we'll be posting.
She said to just email her.
Yeah.
And she said she's got like 1 for $2, or we got 6 for $10.
Yep.
We got buy 5 and get 1 free, so we got 6 for $10. That's what we did. But if you are watching right now, I mean, we've got 5 bracelets that we can give away to you for free if you want. They're handmade by women in the Philippines who, this is what they do. They're called Threads of Hope bracelets, and it is a way for them to make a living for themselves so that they aren't caught up in sex trafficking and prostitution. It's a way to get them out of the industry. So it's amazing, and it's free. 5 bracelets. Send us an email, officialjmcministries@gmail.com. In the subject line, say Threads of Hope bracelet, and we'll put an envelope and we'll mail it out to you.
Now, for those of you who want to go ahead and sponsor Brandy, you can talk to her on Facebook, and I typed it in the chat. It's Tell the World That Jesus Lives. Tell the World That Jesus Lives. That's facebook.com/Tell the World That Jesus Lives. Plus, you can go to our website at Brandy Wilcox, WILCOX.theworldrace.org. So it's pretty cool that we have stuff. I have one taker already in the chat room who's interested in taking one. April, go ahead and send us an email. What we're going to do is we're gonna triage this based on
the first
5. Get it.
Yeah, the first 5 people to send us an email will get these bracelets. There you go. That's how we do it here.
So that's just what we're trying to do. Just trying to get the word out, let people know what's happening. Like I said, I just posted 5 minutes ago that we were taking phone calls. I got the phone here. I want to take your phone calls today. For those of you who are interested in talking about any topic in the world, here's the phone number to call for the live show. I'm not saying it on the podcast, but it's in the chat room. For those of you that are interested, it's going to show up on Twitter. It's already on the Twitter right now. That Twitter post will be deleted after the show, so I don't get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning want to know about JMC Live. Or I can just disable the phone. But anyway, phone number's right there. If you want to call in, we will answer any of your questions on air. Quite fun, isn't that? It's been quite an amazing evening sitting there watching the Facebook chat going, checking out the Twitter chat. We got 5 viewers. Welcome, new people. Like I was saying, we're giving away 5 bracelets. I know we have one, at least one that's been picked.
We got 4 ready to go out.
I'm looking at the email. Let me check. How many emails do I got? I'm going to tell you. We haven't gotten any emails yet to win a free bracelet. Email us at official, if I can type.
You're not typing very well.
Can you do that for me?
No, I'm not in the chat. Sorry, I was busy.
Oh, she shut her chat off, so.
No, I had to because I was doing other things.
All right, yeah, so we got 5 people. I'll go ahead and say this for the podcast viewers. Official JMC Ministries at gmail.com. The first 5 people will get the free bracelet. Upcoming program that we're going to be able to give away, we're going to be giving away Professor Dennis Ray's 2 books, The AWOL Christians, and what's the other one called again? I can't remember the name.
Stakes are high.
That's what I was going to say. I was saying the wrong word in my head. Stakes are high. I do apologize. I want to go on to our next topic. Like I said, the phone number's on the screen to call in. For those of you in the chat, I'll just go ahead and say it. 740-601-9014. We'll say again, 740-601-9014. This is our official JMC Ministries business line. You'll be prompted to give your name, and then it'll come in, and then we'll get the call, and then we'll go from there. And calls will be screened, and so on and so forth, and all that. I want to go to the next topic. Now, I was trying to get this guy to get on air, and this is a possibility for the future. This is one of my friends, Alex Morosco, is a Christian Post reporter, and we've covered pieces.
Give me that.
We've covered pieces of that. You want to go talk to him? Actually, her father. Apparently, her father is calling. Hi, Dad. I don't think he's watching the program right now.
He doesn't have internet, though.
He doesn't have internet, so we'll answer that later.
We always get a phone call during the show. So
Yep, every show. That's why we have the audio off. But anyway, this is something that's not new. Glenn Beck covered the multifaceted story, and we covered the pieces in Florida, pieces in New York, and now in Houston. What if I told you that governmental law is stating that if you are a homeless person, you can get fed, but the only people that can feed you are those that have a license to cook food and also have a license to store a pantry. And furthermore, if you have a food pantry or you're cooking food, if you don't have a license to cooking food, if you don't have a license to have a pantry, you can't be in business. Furthermore, they're telling ministries in Houston, New York, and Florida, and California, right now today, they're telling people that if you are a homeless shelter or a food pantry, the only food you can get is from your food bank, your governmental food bank. So therefore, when I was homeless and I had churches and people come in and cook at the soup kitchen and donate clothes for me to wear and help me do training and all this other stuff, they're being told, you can't do that anymore. You think I'm making this up. Here we go. Christian Post is talking about this now. Houston makes a law, food giveaway a crime. The mayor, now this new mayor is rumored to be a lesbian. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but there's a big uproar about the fact that the mayor is a lesbian and the mayor is more liberal than any other mayor before. Effective July 1st, a $500 fine that originally was $2,000 will make it a violation. So this will make it a crime to pull over to the side of the road and hand out food to 5 or more people. Now, of course, in most cases, and I'm aware of that, you're not going to find 5 homeless people who need food on the side of the road. So this is how they're being real sneaky about it. But if you have a facility, they're telling you you can't donate food anymore. Yes, that number is still on the screen to call in. 740-601-9014. You can call in anytime. If you want, you can log into the. Oh, she doesn't want to do that. But anyway, what I'm worried about is, like Miranda calls this, and the reason why she's not talking because I'm the guy that's been homeless.
And you were homeless in Houston.
I was homeless in downtown Houston.
That upsets me. That upsets me a lot.
This is what makes it angry. And I'm taking my glasses off, so now I'm getting real serious. What makes this so angry is I've been to one of the shelters that one of the women that's involved in this article, Noah's Kitchen. I've been to Noah's Kitchen. Nobody knows that I've been to Noah's Kitchen, but I've been to Noah's Kitchen. I've been to the Salvation Army things. I've been to Lakewood Church and other churches that were doing things while I was homeless. Downtown Houston, homeless. Washington Avenue, right there before you go to the bridge or the bayou and all that. Yeah, I know about all that. The creepy part about this is what they're trying to say, and let me talk from a liberal perspective because I want you to understand where they're coming from so then we know how to defeat this. So here's their ideology in their brain. This is what they say. We want homeless people to be safe. We want them to eat food that is protected, and they don't want to have people that are getting nasty food where someone's getting sick.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on that. Because the way our country is going, they're implementing laws just like Nazi Germany did, Communist Russia, USSR did, North Korea does, China does, etc. And what that is, by implementing these laws where people can't feed each other, and only the government can do that, is called population control. This is my idea of what liberals and progressives and socialists and communists are. This is why they're doing it. You're saying one side, I'm saying it is because they want to get rid of the people who are not being productive citizens, who are not helping the economy. They are not helping better the quote government and society. They're not being productive citizens in the community. So what do? How do we get rid of these people? Well, let's implement these laws where people can't feed them anymore. They'll slowly die. We saw, you look at history, that happens. I want Jeremy to bring up this little quote picture that I saved today. A friend of mine shared this right after I read this article. And I said, Jeremy, we have to talk about this. And especially after I found this little quote. Jeremy, if you can just minimize that.
Just keep talking.
It's right. Oh, it's over here underneath.
Just keep. It's gonna take.
So a friend of mine shared a quote from Thomas Jefferson, and I said, oh, I have to share this on the show when we talk about this article, because what Thomas Jefferson says. I'm gonna wait till Jeremy brings it up.
Let's keep talking. It's gonna take a little bit.
It's ready to go now.
Just a little bit.
What it says here, Thomas Jefferson said, if people let government decide what foods they eat and what medicine they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny.
Tyranny.
Sorry. So when I read that quote, I said, I have to share this. If one of our founding fathers said we do not need to have government running what foods that we can and cannot eat, how we can pass out food, basically, in my opinion, how we gain food, then why are we doing this? Why are we allowing laws to pass? The reason this article was written was because they want people to sign a petition to stop this law, to repeal this law in November. And I truly believe every one of these laws that are being passed throughout different states needs to be repealed, because people are going to slowly starve to death. People are going to become sick, and inevitably there are going to be a lot of dead people laying along, on the streets and in their homes.
And here's what it is. It says what they're wanting to do with this new, and they're making it an ordinance. Like I said a minute ago with the RFID chips, what this is so many people, young people from the ages of like 14 all the way up to 30 right now. We have a generation, not the X, not the Y, it's this new generation that's coming out that is honestly stepping in and saying, I don't care about politics, I don't care about voting, I don't care about all of this stuff, Some of them are Christian, some of them are not. And this is why this stuff's getting away with, because it's slipping through the cracks. Because those people are using the word in the way of protecting the people, in the way of protecting our rights and all that. That's
what they're
want to
doing
do.
is they're turning public property, they're turning city sidewalks that are public property into private property. And it says in the article that you need permission from the, it said, I understand that the part about getting permission from the owner, but the problem is that city sidewalks are considered private property instead of public property. How in the world do you get permission to hand out food in a public place where the public owns it?
Because this is what they're doing. They're making the public, the governmental own things. Here's the thing. When you are a city council and the mayor of a city, you own everything within your jurisdiction. So therefore, public property
becomes
is
government
property. It's not private property because they still have rules and regulations. So what they're wanting to do, say for instance, Star Hope, which is a homeless shelter that I sang at. I sang at the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center. I sang at go down to Sugar Land to the Juvenile Delinquent Center. I've sang and played on the streets and everywhere. Star Hope, all these different shelters, so on and so forth. They have like 2,000 beds. Yeah, Star Hope, homeless shelter in Houston, Texas, 2,000 beds. 13.5 homeless people live in Houston. Let me say this again. 5,000 people within the Houston city limits, not the whole county.
Wait a minute.
We're just talking about Houston, Texas alone.
Okay. You said 5,000. Are you talking about
13,500 people.
Okay.
Think about this. So what do you do when, I mean, honestly, the people in power aren't looking at population control, because when you bring it up, they don't even know what you're talking about. A lot of the people...
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. How many cities and states are trying to pass laws to throw out the homeless? They know how many homeless are there. There are a lot of states, they're trying to pass laws where they're throwing them out of the cities. If you don't have a home, you are not allowed to be in this city. Don't tell me they don't know what the population of the homeless people are. Don't tell me that, because they do.
And this is why I'm going to be trying to get a hold of Rodriguez, because I know Alex just added her on Facebook. I'm going to write her and tell her my story from 12 years ago. Because I am a living testimony of the faith of the people in Texas who donated their money, who donated their food, who donated their clothes. I would not be alive today without someone else's help.
That's right.
And you're going to sit here and tell me a governmental program is going to keep someone like me from living.
Well, here's what I don't understand. Okay, we're worried about what the homeless people are eating, so we're going to limit what they can eat. Well, they're eating out of dumpsters. Okay? If you're really worried about what they're eating, then let people feed them. Because if you don't let people feed them, they're going to be eating out of dumpsters. They're going to be eating God knows what.
Do you realize $500, which is what this fine is, Houston, Texas, would feed 750 people. In Ohio, it would feed almost 1,000.
It's crazy.
Homeless people, and I realize the obvious picture. What's the obvious picture of a homeless person? It's not me, because guess what? I didn't look much different than I do now. I didn't talk much different than I do now.
Majority
and in
of
fact,
people,
I did twice as much ministry when I was homeless, because I wasn't married. I didn't have all these things holding me down, and I was doing stuff every day until midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sadly, the face of homelessness is more and more becoming women and children.
Yeah.
So you think we're starving children. We're going to be starving children and women and babies. Do we want that on our head, America? I mean, seriously? The image of homelessness isn't just the man with some dirty clothes who's got a bottle of alcohol in his hand anymore. That is not really the face of homelessness anymore. Due to this recession, it's your next door neighbor. A lot of people are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. So do we want these laws to continue to be passed? I don't think so. We need to stop. We need to repeal these laws, and people of faith and people with moral values need to stand up and say, no, we're not going to allow our government to basically starve people to death, because they just don't think, they're
And-
worried
and
about
I-
the quality
and I-
of food.
And I totally understand. They do not end up, that's the thing. Even some people that worked for Hitler had absolutely no idea the implementations of these kind of programs killing anyone. Because the only thing that is being documented and checked out of, well, if we make certain they can only eat this safe food, then they'll be safe for homeless people. We'll get skinnier homeless people. We'll do more good.
They're already skinny.
I
A
understand
lot of times.
that. I understand that. Yeah, you need to be able to have some kind of regulation to protect homeless people with what foods are being due.
But however, how many articles, how many news channels have you seen covering stories where people are complaining about the quality of food the homeless are getting, or it's bad food? I've only heard good things, that people out there doing good and they're feeding people and people are getting help and they're getting nutrition. I haven't really heard any, and we scour the internet, we scour the news channels to find news, and I have not seen any news about the quality of food that this homeless person got today. It was just unsatisfactory.
Do you see this photo? Do you realize I have been under this bridge before? My wife, you want to know where I live? I've lived under that bridge before, Miranda. Almost that exact spot. I have stayed several hours talking to homeless people. That's one of the things in Houston. They live under bridges.
Okay. So, to close out,
you see how many people are in this picture.
So to close out this article and this topic, let your voice be heard. If you're listening to this, click the link below on the article and read it, and click the link where you can go and sign a petition to try to help repeal these laws. Well, let's get on to what is today. It is April 14th, 2012, and on this day, 100 years ago, the Titanic sank. And when you think of the Titanic sinking, who do you think of? A lot of people today think of Leonardo DiCaprio and the movie Titanic. And of course, some of the famous characters in the movie, like the unsinkable Molly Brown, as she came to be known, and Mr. Astor, can't remember his first name. He was a millionaire. He's a very rich man, and a lot of there was a lot of famous people and a lot of rich people on this boat, and many of them lost their lives. But what we don't hear about are people like a Catholic priest and a Protestant priest who helped lead people to Christ, who gave up their seats in lifeboats to stay on the boat, to hear confessions and to lead people to salvation. Just moments before the boat sank and they inevitably passed away. Amidst all the tales of chivalry from the Titanic disaster, there is one that's not often told. It is that of Father Thomas Biles, the Catholic priest who gave up 2 spots on a lifeboat in favor of offering spiritual aid to the other victims as they went down with the unsinkable vessel. Now, if you watch the Titanic movie, they do show a priest as the ship is going down, and there are people gathered around this priest and they're praying, and he's quoting Psalms 23, I do believe. And maybe that was supposed to be him. They don't really say anything about the priest in the movie, but it could have been Father Thomas Biles they were portraying. At age 42 years old, the English convert, Father Biles, was on his way to New York to offer the wedding mass for his brother William. Reports suggest that he was reciting his breviary, I think that's how you say it, I'm sorry to my Catholic friends I said it wrong, on the upper deck when the Titanic struck the iceberg in the twilight hours of Sunday, April 14, 1912. According to eyewitnesses, as the ship went down, the priest helped women and children get into the lifeboats, then heard confessions, gave absolution, and led passengers in reciting the rosary. Agnes McCoy, one of the survivors, says that as the great ship sank, Father Biles stood on the deck with Catholics, Protestants, and Jews kneeling around him. Father Biles... What did you do, Jeremy?
Just give me a minute. I was trying to open the link for the official Father Biles.
Don't click anything until I'm done, please. Now I lost my place. So Catholics, Protestants, and Jews came together and were praying together. Clearly, when tragedy is striking, prejudices and closed-mindedness obviously is thrown out the window. Why does it take a tragedy to do this? I don't know. But I pray that many got saved and found Christ. So Father Biles was saying the rosary and praying for the repose of souls of those around about to perish. She told, Agnes McCoy told the New York Telegram on April 22nd, 1912, according to the website devoted to his memory, fatherbiles.com. And the words of the priest, friend Father Patrick McKenna, he twice refused the offer of a place in a boat, saying his duty was to stay on the ship while one soul wanted his ministrations. Think about that. And then, not only was there a Catholic priest, but then, if Jeremy can go over to the other article I found today,
before we get to that, I want to show you guys the official website for Thomas Biles, because many people in the early 1900s wrote about this guy. Brooklyn Daily Eagle, the Gazette, Essex Herald, Brooklyn Daily, New York Telegram, Church Press, Register, Scotsman. But here's the interesting thing. It's like, why did this story stop being publicized? I never knew about this, and I've been involved in ministry for over 12 years, and I didn't know that especially being in the Coast Guard, I probably, if I got involved in the military chaplaincy, which I didn't, I probably would have heard about this by now, because I've been hearing other people talk about this guy, because the Coast Guard now has chaplains that are connected to the Navy chaplains, and they always bring up Father Tom Biles in their messages. I found that out this week while Miranda was looking this up, talking to some old Master Chiefs and other people in the Coast Guard are my friends, and they said, yes, this is one of the etching moments why being a Coast Guardsman is so important, because since this event that has happened, there has never been another ice-breaking experience where a boat collides with an iceberg or whatever,
a ship never
has never sank.
By an iceberg
never has been sank. Because what happened, here's the thing in the Coast Guard. We created the ice-breaking service, and since the early 1912, 13, 14, 15, so on and so forth, we have been breaking the ice all over the world so passageway could be complete for scientists and passers and all sorts of people that go across the high seas. No one else has had to experience this, and I want to say this wholeheartedly. If it wasn't for people like Mr. Father Thomas Biles, and it wasn't like this other guy you're talking about who stayed on the Titanic probably praying for the families and friends and that their deaths would not be in vain, and I wouldn't doubt they had enough boldness to say, I dear Lord pray that this never happen again. And you know what? It hasn't. And if it wasn't for this man staying on the ship, realize how many people probably got saved as that water was coming up? I wouldn't doubt he kept moving and trying to bring other people to the top of the ship and then try and float on the top of the ship. Some people did get saved after the ship went down. But
let's go on to the next man that nobody really knows much about. So then we go to the Baptist Press, and they wrote an article about a Protestant preacher named John Harper, who inevitably died on the Titanic because he gave up his seat on a lifeboat to save others and stay on and preach the gospel and pray with people. And it was 100 years, I'm just going to read the article. It has been 100 years since Titanic, the greatest ship of its time, sank on its maiden voyage, killing more than 1,500 passengers. The unsinkable ship had done just that, and on the tragedy's centennial, we stand captivated by the story. Many movies, documentaries, and books have familiarized us with some of the passengers, such as entrepreneur John Jacob Astor, that's his full name, I forgot, or the unsinkable Molly Brown. Yet one of the supreme stories of the Titanic involves a heroic pastor and his passion to save lives and souls. When pastor and preacher John Harper and his 6-year-old daughter boarded the Titanic, It was for the privilege of preaching at one of the greatest churches in America, Moody Church in Chicago, named for the famous founder Dwight L. Moody. The church was anxiously awaiting his arrival, not only because of the pending services, but to meet their next pastor. As Harper planned to accept the invitation, Harper was known as an engaging preacher and had pastored 2 churches in Glasgow, London. His preaching style was suited for an evangelist, as testified by the words of another local pastor. He was a great open-air preacher and could always command large and appreciative audiences. He could deal with all kinds of interrupters. His great and intelligent grasp of Bible truths enabling him to successfully combat all assailants. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, Harper successfully led his daughter to a lifeboat. Being a widower, he may have been allowed to join her, but instead he forsook his own rescue, choosing to provide the masses with one more chance to know Christ. Harper ran person to person, passionately telling others about Christ. As the water began to submerge the unsinkable ship, Harper was heard shouting, "Women, children, and the unsaved," in the lifeboats, rebuffed by a certain man at the offer of salvation. Harper gave his own life vest, saying, "You need this more than me." The man gave his own life vest away to someone else because they were unsaved. And he was prepared to die. He was ready to go. He was ready to meet Jesus and go to heaven. Up until the last moment on the ship, Harper pleaded with people to give their lives to Jesus. The ship disappeared beneath the deep, frigid waters, leaving hundreds floundering in its wake with no realistic chance for rescue. Harper struggled through hypothermia to swim to as many people as he could, still sharing the gospel. Harper inevitably would lose his battle with hypothermia, but not before giving many people one less glorious gospel witness. 4 years after the tragedy, at a Titanic survivors meeting in Ontario, Canada, one survivor recounted his interaction with Harper in the middle of the icy waters of the Atlantic. He testified he was clinging to ship debris when Harper swam up to him twice, challenging him with a biblical invitation to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. He rejected the offer once, yet given the second chance, with miles of water beneath his feet, the man gave his life to Christ. Then, as Harper succumbed to his watery grave, this new believer was rescued by a returning lifeboat. As he concluded his remarks at the Ontario meeting of survivors, he simply stated, "I am the last convert of John Harper." And I'm going to end there because I just think that's so amazing. These two, the priest and this evangelical minister.
So after this tragedy,
Yes.
the White Star Line in Liverpool, England, placed a board outside its office with only 2 classes of passengers reading, "Known to be saved" and "Known to be lost." So the owners of the Titanic had simply reaffirmed what John Harper already knew. So now it's 100 years later. Now, I've already been placed in several opportunities to do this. From the military, from being homeless, from the tragedy growing up as a child. What is your John Harper moment? What is your
Father Bile moment.
Father Bile moment? What is your Titanic moment? Let me put it that way.
If you and we sat here and we talked about this. What if we knew we had moments to live? We were in a situation like, how many people would you want to try? What would you do? Would you save yourself, knowing you're ready to go to heaven? Would you give up your life vest? Would you give up everything, knowing you were going to face ultimate death, but give your life vest, give your seat up to somebody who possibly isn't saved and would die and go to hell? How many people would you try to share the story of Jesus, to tell them that Jesus died for them, and they don't have to die today and in just a few minutes and go to hell, but they can die in a few moments and live for eternity? Think about that. That's an amazing.
You know, many people don't hear stories like this anymore. It happens in the military almost every day. It happens in some of these tragic stories of right now. Tornadoes is a big issue. Later this year, it's going to be hurricanes. There will be another catastrophe of this magnitude. Maybe not a Titanic boat sinking, But there's natural disasters every day in this world. Volcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, sink-ins, hail, rain, storm. And you know what? Many people don't know these stories. I've heard about the Protestant guy before. I just couldn't remember his name. But I never knew about the Catholic one before. I mean, I kind of heard something about it, but I did not know the full grasping story.
But the mainstream media and society doesn't promote them anymore.
This isn't something
they're
that
not
you're going to hear
worth talking
anymore.
about.
You know, it's not worth talking, saying that, you know, I could hear it now going to college. They're going to tell me that these men were irrational thinkers to sacrifice themselves instead of being selfish and take care of themselves. They must have been mentally ill. That's what I would probably
To
think.
leave their daughter and make her an orphan, why would you do that?
So I challenge you today. I know we're going over because I'm still waiting on the first phone call. We are taking phone calls tonight. I'll type the number again in the chat. I'm quite curiously wondering, what in the world matters to you most? I mean, you want to talk about any of the stories? You want to ask us a question about us? That's fine.
No,
I'll take anything.
let's talk about, once those people went into the water, they had a 5 to 10 minute time period to live.
So you want me to talk about hyperthermia?
Yeah, I want you to, because you had to learn about that in the Coast Guard, and what cold water, freezing water does to the body, and what is your life expectancy once you're in that? And sadly, it's not very long, 5 to 10 minutes,
Well,
depending on how cold it is. And there was a lot of people that went into that ocean and didn't make it. There was just very few that were saved from the waters.
So you want to know about hyperthermia? Well, hyperthermia is the overheating of the body. You can get heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat rash. That's just part of what it is. So the right word is not hyperthermia. It's I'm trying to think what it's called. But anyway, it's almost the same. It's the opposite of what happens when you get really hot. When you start to get cold, you got 15 minutes. If you're below 32 degrees, and we're talking about 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, the water was colder than 32 degrees.
You have 15 minutes, and if it's below zero, you have like 15 minutes to 5 minutes. You have 15 minutes essentially if your whole body, over 80% or more of your body is covered in cold, extreme temperatures.
I do apologize for saying the wrong word. I'm sorry.
What happens is, there's a similar thing that happens. You get the headache, you get nausea, you get dizziness, you can faint, muscle cramps, and a coma. Some people, honestly, because if it's below zero, you got 5 to 15 minutes, depending on, normally 5 minutes. What'll happen?
A lot of times what happens is you
go to sleep.
You go to sleep.
You're like,
and then you stop shivering because
you can't breathe anymore. Because what happens is your body is like overproducing itself. It's trying to warm up. So your extremities are going to go numb. Your feet and toes and ears are going to go numb. Breathing is going to be cold as it goes in. And it's going to hurt. And it's going to get shorter of breath. And eventually, if it's cold enough, bam, it's in that 5 minutes. If not, you got 15 minutes to sit here. If you're ever in a situation, 32 degrees or less, you got 15 minutes to get out of that water. Now, you could be soaking wet, sitting on top of a table, floating in below degree weather, and you might just lose some fingers and toes, and maybe your ear, or your eye. That's the other thing, your eyes dry out when they
But you got to
explode.
think how long the people were in those lifeboats and in the water. The Carpathia didn't get there till the morning, and it was many hours. So even the people in the lifeboats, they were freezing too, and it is a really horrible.
Yeah, it's hypo, not hyper.
I thought I said hypo.
Hypothermia.
But what it comes down to, it is painful. And women and children and men, many third class passengers and people that were working on the ship, majority of people that were workers, employees on the ship, they didn't even have a chance.
Now here's the interesting thing. Sweden, 2010. A 7-year-old girl drowns in 54.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That was what her body temperature was, or 13 Celsius. In other words, she was probably in water of almost 32 to 50 degrees, depending on how long she was in there. This is the longest, the lowest documented body temperature which anyone has ever survived. 55.4
And
degrees
she
Fahrenheit.
survived this?
She
Wow.
survived that. That is what is creepy about this whole event and what can
But
happen
it
to you.
is a terrible tragedy, and we must not forget the people that died 100 years ago today. I
Yep.
mean, we can't forget. They were precious souls, you know, and it was horrible. I mean, James Cameron did a very good job documenting in Titanic what the people went through, what it was like as that ship was going down. He really did his homework on that, and I'm really glad he did such a thorough job when creating the movie, and he inevitably went way over budget. It was like the most expensive movie ever made at that point in the 90s ever created, and I'm so glad that he did go over budget because it was well worth it. And but we must not forget people like Father Thomas Biles and Pastor John Harper. We must not forget them, and we must not forget that and question ourselves, what would we do if we were placed in that similar situation?
Now here's the interesting thing. Now, because I've actually found the original story for Sweden. Here's what happens when your body temperature is lower. And this is the reason why they think it happened. And it's kind of interesting. This happened on Christmas Day. The 7-year-old girl was found in the ocean, Sweden's western coast, on Christmas Day. And she arrived at the hospital, so however long it took to get from the ocean to there, it was probably 15 minutes to half an hour. No sign of life, so there was no vitals. 13 degrees Celsius, 55.4 degrees was her body, so the temperature in the water itself, to get that low, had to be below freezing. And the reason why she survived is because her temperature was so low, her brain was able to survive a longer period of time without oxygen because it went into like a coma-atic state is what she did. So her pulse was like nil, but because she was in a coma state, they were able to rejuvenate her. And slowly, this is the thing. Any of you guys had a hand or leg fall asleep, you have to slowly like knead it back to life to where you can move to make the blood move. It's the same thing that happens when you're freezing cold. You have to gradually move yourself up to a normal temperature. If you do it too quickly, it'll cause some damage. This is the reason why I'm pointing this out. What happened with the Titanic is there were people that probably lived for a half an hour more sitting there in those floating lifeboats. Of course, it's getting colder and more insane as it kept going on and on. But what I'm going to do for someone who wanted the story, here's that story. I know the link's not working right, but John Harper is the Protestant guy that you're wanting to know about, and that was why this was happening the way it went down 100 years ago. Where are we going today? Well, like I said, there's no more destruction of boats, at least not yet, by an iceberg. But the future, what does the future hold? I mean, so many things we've covered tonight. So much more that we could get into. I know we've gone over tonight. I thank you guys for staying with us in the chat. It's been an amazing night. We got to finish editing a video for tonight. We're going to get the podcast for the show up immediately after this, so you'll be able to download this hopefully before midnight, podcast-wise. And I might stay up and end up getting this video made and loaded. I don't see why not. if it doesn't take that
I'm
long.
giving you that look because I'm like, no.
Well, it shouldn't be that difficult. If this.
It took till 4 in the morning to do yesterday's show.
Well, yeah, yesterday's show took forever, and hopefully, as long as I don't. Anyway, you got any final words?
Just I hope all of you that are listening have been inspired and encouraged today, and just remember that as Christians and people of faith, we are the light in the darkness. We are that light that's shining on that hill, and just continue to shine.
Yep, this has been JMC Live. Like I said, we have the Sosa interview posted. We already have Brandy Wilcox podcast. Eternal Flame News podcast video has already been posted. We will be on air again next Friday at 7 o'clock for Eternal Flame News. And next Saturday, 9 p.m., all Eastern time for JMC Live. We will have some more surprises. Like I told you, we got 4 bracelets left to give away. We have more books to give away and a few other things. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.